All right, we'll officially go ahead and call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. And we'll kick off with roll call. I'm Sean Wilson. Welcome. To the left.
Patty McCoy, thank you for coming out on this beautiful evening.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Picard, and welcome everyone.
Good evening, I'm Anupam Chuksadhu. Thanks for being here.
Hi, it's Patrick Keogh. Thanks for joining us this evening.
Hi, I'm Judy Westra. Thank you for coming out tonight.
All right, Dr. Merritt.
Good evening and welcome. I'd like to begin, and she's going to kill me for doing this, but by wishing a very happy birthday to our amazing Diane Robertson, our executive assistant, who spends their birthday here at a board meeting, but we appreciate the dedication. It's Carly Reyes is here to assist us with our technology needs today, and I'd like the remaining members of the staff to introduce themselves.
Thank you, Dr. Merritt. Kurt Tiskowitz, Assistant Superintendent for Student Services. Welcome.
Good evening. Jill Minnick, Chief Finance and Operations Officer.
Good evening, Beth Rail, Chief Academic and Innovation Officer. Thanks for being here tonight.
Good evening, Abdul Young, Chief Human Resources Officer.
Welcome everyone. Liz Vartanian Gibbs, Assistant Superintendent, Student and Family Engagement.
All right, and the Josh, Mr. Patterson.
Good evening, I'm Josh Patterson, Plymouth sophomore and Student Voice in Action representative and co-chair.
Great. Josh, can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So just a reminder, we're really doing 3 meetings tonight. The first meeting is a public budget hearing, and then we'll convene that meeting and then go into the regular meeting, and then we'll be doing a closed door session after the regular meeting. So with that, we'll go ahead and I guess we'll turn it over to Ms. Minnick to walk us through the budget.
Thank you. Good evening. This evening, we will be reviewing our fiscal year 24-25 proposed budget for next school year. We know that by law, it is required to be adopted by the board by June 30th of each year. And so we will be presenting it this evening for the public hearing, and then we will be bringing it back for a second read at the June 25th meeting as well. So with that, we always connect our work to the dynamic plan. With that, we have strategic objective FNO 1 and 2 to align our financial resources to areas of greatest need as support for individual students as identified through academic achievement data. We also have our strategic objective FNO 9 to seek out and evaluate and implement new service delivery models to improve the effectiveness and efficiency of the district, including innovative practices. As well, we have strategic objective FNO 10, ensure district capability to anticipate and respond to strategic changes or opportunities in educational service and delivery systems through sound financial planning. So how do we connect then those strategic objectives to our outcomes? Of course, we have resources around our student membership, our grants, our departmental staff. All of those together have certain activities that bring forth our outputs, our audit reports, our financial statements, as well as qualitative and quantitative data results. We then meet and strive toward our short-term and outcome goals, our midterm and our long-term goals. So to level set, we'll present some data that I'm sure you've all seen at other times during this school year. Here is our foundation allowance per pupil. Currently, our foundation allowance per pupil is $9,608. With that, we anticipate that the foundation allowance next year per pupil will be $9,849. We know on that blue bar that the School Finance Research Collaborative estimated back in 2021, the base cost to educate a pupil is $10,421. That is a significant gap in our funding. In today's dollars, with inflation, that would be equivalent to $12,549 per pupil. So there is quite a funding gap in exceeding $40 million each and every year for Plymouth Canton Community Schools. We also have for you our blended full-time equivalent student FTEs. It is our student FTEs multiplied by that foundation allowance per pupil, where we arrive at our primary source of funding, state aid. So you can see since the COVID years, we have had a decline of enrollment, and that is predominant across our state. We are not unique in that way, and I might argue the nation. But with that, we still anticipate a slight decline again next year in our enrollment to the tune of 16,100 pupils. Here is a little more detail around that projected enrollment. We see there the 16,100 is circled, but that does not include our IPSEP program, schools of choice enrollments, or shared time student counts. Or I'm sorry, I misspoke. The Stanford projected enrollment study does not include those numbers. So when we add the Stanford most likely numbers, the high, the low, and the area of low and most likely, those numbers need to be added to the IPSEP school of choice and shared time student counts to arrive at that 16,100 total enrollment projection. So moving into the assumptions on which we base our 24-25 proposed budget. On the revenue side of the ledger, as I mentioned, we anticipate a projected level of enrollment at 16,100. That is a projected loss of 101.5 FTE. That's equivalent to a loss of about $975,000. Yet, we are anticipating a foundation allowance increase per pupil of $241 per pupil, and that value is per the executive budget. You may recall I presented to the board one of the last times I was with you around the comparisons of the House, the Senate, and the executive budget's proposal. The executive budget, in terms of the foundation allowance, was middle of the road, and according to what I'm hearing in our industry, it seems to be the most likely outcome, $241 per pupil. So that would be an increase of revenue to our district, multiplied by 16,100, of $3,880,000. The weighted categorical funding increases for such programs as at-risk, English language learners, I apologize, and Great Start Readiness program, we are assuming a 2% increase in those programs. That is aligned, again, with the executive proposal, base proposal, as well as the consensus revenue estimating conference outcomes. Just a very nominal increase and improvement in those revenues collected at the state level. We will amend, of course, any of those allocations that might be funded with MIPSR's changes if those changes are legislated. You might recall we had a conversation at our last meeting about that. There's a lot of chatter in the news and by our lobbyists and such to move forward with some significant changes in the MIPSR's program that may result in much larger increases in our funding. If and when that happens, then we will, of course, be responsive and include that in our work and our programming and our budgets. But with that, the corresponding MIPSR's reductions, we already know that Section 147F will be eliminated next year, so that is a reduction of $590,000. Yet we are maintaining the other MIPSR's related revenues and expenditures flat. We know that federal COVID funding will be discontinued as well next year, although that's not accounted for in the general fund. It's an important note because it will impact the general fund. We'll see in another slide or two. And we will assume consistent levels for other federal, state, and local grants at this time. Looking at expenditures then, we will continue to align our staffing with enrollment, and we anticipate class sizes to be consistent with prior year. We anticipate employee compensation increases that we are currently bargaining, and a hard cap increase of 1.3%, a very nominal increase. Our MIPSR's base contribution rate also has just a very nominal increase for next year. And I already discussed the MIPSR's 147 costs, that those will be consistent as well. Multi-year vendor contract increases have been included in our projected budget, and we do anticipate achieving about a $200,000 savings around our third-party transportation programs. Continuing on with our expenditure assumptions, after accounting for all of those variables and those assumptions, as well as on the revenue side, those enrollment declines, state aid increases, and other types of budget impacts, we identified back in April already that we wanted to reduce our expenditures to the tune of about $2 million, knowing that ahead of us lies what some people are calling a fiscal cliff, but it's a culmination of a number of factors, not just our ESSER dollars. But with that, We know that over the next couple of years, we're going to have to tighten our expenditures or raise revenues, some combination thereof. But in the moment, during our transformation process back in April, as a team, which is kind of a zero-based budgeting approach, we identified and targeted savings of $2 million. So with that, within our central office operations, we identified 2 FTE of administrative positions that we will eliminate. We are shifting 3 positions to be grant funded, which will relieve some pressure on the general fund. And then we will eliminate pass-through of enhancement millage allocations for our buildings around capital outlay. We'll continue to leverage our bond program and seek other ways to handle school-level capital outlay. At the budget transformation process, we also identified additional reductions by shifting 9 positions to be grant funded. We anticipate those to be eligible for at-risk funding, and we are anticipating to reduce, or we will reduce another 0.67 FTE. So together, those expenditure reductions that were identified amounted to $2.3 million, nearly $2.4 million. So we did exceed our target by just a bit. So taking a snapshot then of our revenue as a whole, this is an excerpt of the budget. You have the budget book in your materials, and they are online as well. But an excerpt just of our revenues here. I wanted to point out just a few highlights as we read through those rows and columns. So the way we read our chart, for those who might not be able to see the screen very well, we start with the fiscal year actual figures. So those are the audited numbers from last year's results, last year's school year. We also show the fiscal year final amended budget, which I'll be presenting later this evening. And then we show next that the proposed budget for next year, and of course a variance column. So looking at some of the highlights, not every dollar of the variance, but some of the highlights include insurance proceeds. We are projecting a reduction of about $120,000 for next year. We know we had significant insurance claims this year where we were able to be reimbursed for some of those projects. We are reducing that amount because we are anticipating fewer weather issues next year. Who knows? But we'll always amend our budget for those types of things. And then interest revenues. We are anticipating, and we're hearing from our financial experts, that interest rates may level off just a bit next year, perhaps maybe from a realm of about 5% to 4% around the types of investments that we as a school district are eligible to invest in. So just a small reduction to be prudent for those types of revenues. In state revenue, we've spoken already about the foundation allowance increase to about $2.9 million there, and then some reduction in revenues around MIPSers, and then intermediate revenue sources. That is our enhancement millage. So our collections, we always anticipate a 2% projected increase in those revenues. Some highlights on the expenditure side of the ledger then. Same format to the chart, but we only have 3 line items there. The first is in the chart, instruction, supporting services, and then other financing uses. Together, when we think about a bundling of instruction and supporting services, we see there that salaries, retirement, and benefit adjustments total about $7.7 million of an increase in those expenditures. It does include a return of select ESSER-funded positions back to the general fund. For example, our English learner teachers. Those are coming back into the general fund. But strictly for instruction then, our band uniforms that the board approved and some textbooks, due to timing of those supplies and those inventories, we are carrying forward those budget allocations into the next year because they will not sync up to be able to be on our books for this year. So we will have a reduction then in our amended budget, you'll see later, as well as an increase. We're just carrying it forward, rather, to next year. And then some other supplies and materials amounting to about $250,000. And then on the supporting services side, we do intend to supplant some grant funding with our current general fund operating expenditures where allowable, to the tune of about $1 million. And that is based on all 3 of the budget proposals from the governor, the House, and the Senate, indicating continued support for 31AA monies and other types of grants like that, that I believe we can already offload, if you will, some of the costs we're already incurring. While we are in a somewhat reduction mode over these next couple of years, we're going to want to attend to those kinds of savings that we can find. Our contracted services, we know we have about a $400,000 net projected increase based on multi-year agreements that we're already party to, or in just those cost and inflationary pressures around services and labor. And then utilities, we project an increase that is congruent with previous years, just a factor there for continued increases in our utilities of electricity, gas, water, trash collection, and such. So when we put the revenue and the expenditures all together, revenues less expenditures result in a net change to our fund balance. We are projecting for next year a planned use of that fund balance of about $6.1 million. That leaves us with an ending fund balance then. At the end of next year, we're projecting $36.9 million at June 30th of 2025. And that is equivalent to a 16.4% fund balance. And that is derived by taking the amount of the fund balance at June 30 and dividing it by the total expenditure value. 16%, of course, is still in excess of best practices through the Michigan School Business officials and our auditors, who might say 15% is a really solid fund balance amount to have, and then our board policy calls for 10%. So we're well above that range. Taking a look then at those expenditures from another angle, we like to look at those from an object level, meaning how are those dollars being spent, not just in what areas. So we see salaries and fringe benefits is a majority of those changes, as well as purchase services, which account for things like occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech and language, other types of maybe special needs types of programs that we contract for those specialized services, as well as other types of contracts with transportation or custodial, any of those kinds of purchased services rather. Supplies and materials, very nominal. $500,000 is not nominal, but overall, so we always portray those expenditures by object, and we see those again in our monthly reporting each month as well. Taking a look at our other funds, our school district carries a number of other types of funds besides the general fund. The general fund is our primary operating fund. It accounts for all of our day-to-day activities in the classroom and our overall mission of the district. Yet we have funds called special revenue funds. These funds account for very restricted revenues that flow into the district for very restricted purposes. So you'll see, just for some highlights here, we have our Public Act 18 Center Program Fund, and we don't carry a fund balance. We expend those incoming revenues each year on the students in front of us. Our Funded Projects Fund also is a fund where we account for all of our grants. So those revenues that come in, we anticipate that we will fully expend those. Maybe we do and maybe we don't, but we always budget for those full grant allocations. Just some other highlights here. We have our capital projects funds. Capital project funds account for capital outlay and building improvements and all of the things that happen with our bond program and our capital improvement fund. So you'll notice here we only have 2 bond project funds remaining. That's because we do intend to spend down the other remaining bond program funds, and you'll see that in the amended budget. We also have a debt service fund, which accounts for the tax levies for debt that we then turn around and pay the principal and interest on our bonds. And then we have our internal service fund, which accounts for our self-insured medical plans. As part of our budget presentation this evening, by statute, we have a truth and taxation component where we are transparent around our tax levies and the amount of money that those generate. So we do levy operating millages. First of all, I want to state that we are very grateful to our community for reauthorizing this millage in February for 20 more years. That allows us to continue our day-to-day operations in our public schools. Our public schools in the state of Michigan are funded by state aid, and school districts levy taxes in the amount of 18 mills on non-homestead properties. State school aid assumes that all districts levy that non-homestead millage. Therefore, the state aid does not make it up if we don't levy it. They do not make up the difference. So the 18 mills is expected to generate $33.8 million this coming year in operating funds just for that day-to-day teaching and learning, the overall operations of the school district. We also levy debt service millage. This 4 mil debt service levy is expected to generate about $31.1, $31.2 million, as I mentioned, to pay the annual principal and interest payments on voter-approved bond issuances. It cannot be used for day-to-day operations of the district, utilities, supplies, those kinds of things. The district is required by law to levy the number of mills necessary to make those annual payments. As a result, the voters do not approve the millage amounts, the number of mills. They only approve the bond dollar amount when they vote for the bond program. So therefore, collections may vary year to year based on taxable values or the amount of the annual principal and interest payments, but we strive every year to keep that millage flat so that our homeowners and our businesses can plan on those in their budgets, that it will remain constant. So those are the two levies that we have in our Plymouth Canton Community Schools. So what are the next steps around this budget plan for 24-25? We will continue to monitor our state aid legislation, and we will respond with with any financial or program implications and account for that and roll those out both in our classroom and on our books. We will optimize enrollment and staffing levels as we continue to understand the amounts of retirements, our enrollment, as we move through the summer and into the fall. And we will implement strategic use of those grants and any categorical funding that we might receive. We will, of course, move into the fall. We'll open our schools, and we will prepare for a mid-year budget amendment in the winter or as necessary based on any significant legislation that might come out. So I'm happy to take any questions you may have around this proposed budget for next school year. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Minnick. We'll start with the questions to my right.
We already went through this during the meeting, so I think I have all of my questions answered then. So, but I know this has been a lot of work, and I appreciate all that you are doing, especially around, just before I came here, I was reading a article about Wayne Westland and their budget shortfall. So I'm grateful that we're hopefully going to avoid that kind of shortfall.
Very good, thank you.
We're absolutely going to avoid that kind of shortfall. I wanted to thank Ms. Minnick as well as her whole team for all the hard work and all the administrators that worked hard on this process. We have reviewed this probably about 17 times leading up to this process, so I don't have any additional questions. Thank you.
Yeah, no questions. No questions for me, very thorough, and you actually answered one of my earlier questions about the 16,100, including the school of choice. I guess I do have a question for Dr. Mayer. In terms of the school of choice, how many of the numbers do you anticipate to be committed, like an approximate based on past trends?
Based on past trends, with this year, for example, 500 seats, I believe we had 338 students actually commit. We're in really good shape right now. Mr. Tiswitz, I'll ask you to share with us how many students have actually enrolled out of the 500 that we've accepted this year at this time.
237.
All
And we have 118 in pre-enrollment right now, so uploading documents, getting all their stuff together.
Okay. So the 16,100 number includes the 300 or the actual 500?
I think it probably includes the average.
Average,
And
okay.
then our IPSUP and our shared time.
Right.
Okay.
We don't want to be overly optimistic and
Yes.
overstate our revenue projections, but we don't want to be overly conservative either,
Right.
so that we can have really good data, the most prudent data on which to base our
Okay.
decisions. Yeah.
That's what I was trying to understand. All right,
Mhm.
thank you.
Thank you.
I do not have any questions, but thank you so much for all your work. Appreciate it.
I also don't have any questions because we've been over this so many times, but I do appreciate all of the work that you and your staff do and all of the information that we are given that's available also to the public, and for answering all of our questions. Thank you.
Thank you. If
All
I
right,
might
Josh.
append on to your comment, I was remiss in not mentioning that these materials are online, and they're also in hard copy form outside this room and at the front desk. And I do want to thank our team. Jody Melvin and Annette Jory did a lot of work trying to compiling all these documents and presentations, as well as the rest of the finance team. So thank you very much.
Josh?
First of all, I'd just
Oh,
like
I'm
to...
so sorry.
It's all good. First of all, I just want to thank you and your team for all your hard work. especially on the slide with the graph on the total money per student FTE, and then like where we need to be, and including how that is raised as like the amount of, you get what I'm saying. And then
Thank you.
if you could go to slide 7 really
Certainly.
quickly. I just have one question on it. So
Of
it
course.
says, I think it's the 4th bullet point down, the hard cap increase of 1.3%. So is that saying that it was the prior increase of 3.7, or was that the percent that was last year and now it's increasing by 1.3?
Thank you for that excellent question, and thank you for also pointing out I should have described what a hard cap is. So in the state of, if I may level set, in the state of Michigan, school districts have a hard cap, meaning there is a maximum amount of money that districts may pay toward employee health care. And so each year, the state of Michigan issues guidance on how much that amount may increase. So the amount is 1.3%. So last year, for our plan year, was 3.7%. So the increase is less significant this coming year.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for that excellent question.
Great. Any further questions? If not, just a reminder, this is the first reading, so if there are any additional questions from the board members and/or the community, you can email myself, Dr. Merritt, and we'll get those answers back to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so on to citizens' comments, specifically to the public budget hearing. We had no citizens' comments for this portion, for this first meeting. So we are going to adjourn, this will conclude the public budget hearing at 7:26. And we'll now move into our regular meeting at 7:26.
Sean, I think we have to wait till 7:30 before we begin the regular meeting.
Okay, so we have 3 minutes. Talk amongst
And
yourselves.
I think if people have any.
But if you have any citizens' comments, you have 3 minutes to complete them and put them in the gray box. All right, we will officially call the regular meeting to order at 7:30, and we're going to jump right into action item 240681, adoption of agenda, approval of consent agenda.
Mr. President, I move that we adopt the agenda, approve the consent agenda, action item number 24-06-81.
Is there a second?
A second.
All right, Dr. Merritt, can you walk us through?
Thank you, President Wilson. This evening, our consent agenda consists of human resources transactions since our last time together. We have a champion for hire this evening for your consideration to fill our Director of Food and Nutritional Services. So we're very excited about that opportunity. We also and give an amazing shout out to that team that has been standing in the gap and keeping us moving forward, and we are forever grateful for that work of that team. Gina, I'm looking at you as serving in our interim. You have been amazing, but I know Gina is definitely ready to pass the torch. But we appreciate you. Leaves and resignations, as well as retirements for your consideration. We also have tenure recommendations this evening for your consideration. Finally, we have out-of-country field trips, and these have been reviewed in SPA. We have the approval of the minutes from the following meeting, this special meeting on May the 28th, 2024, our regular meeting on May 28th, 2024, and our special meeting minutes from June the 5th, 2024. Finally, we have the following first reading of policies, 2340, and that's field trips and overnight travel, and policy 2370.01, and that is online blended learning program.
All right, would any board member request that any of the agenda items be removed from the consent agenda for further discussion? No? All right, barring none, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed say no. All right, carries 6-0. I'll turn it over to Mr. Maindoon to walk us through new hires.
Yes, good evening. Well, let's first start with our new hire, Director of Food and Nutrition Services. When I got to this district, we didn't have one there, and it seems like they were looking for someone. They had a rock star, and they were looking for a replacement for that rock star. So we took time and energy. Kurt put a lot of energy into finding the new person, and we have settled upon Ms. Kayla McDonald as our new Director of Food and Nutrition Services. Would you like to come up? Matter of fact, Since this is a team effort, would the rest of the team like to come up too? Yes, you do.
So happy for you.
So a gift from us, a lot of chocolate.
That might not make it home.
Mine still in the car. Welcome you here. You can say a few words, and you know, it feels like they want to say a few words on her behalf. Please do.
I will say that, Kayla, we are very happy to have you. And
Can you
we're
move
so
up to
excited
the
for
microphone?
you- Oh. Kayla, we're very happy to have you, and we are so excited to see what this next chapter for P-CCS is going to bring. Thank you for joining us.
I jotted this down like 5 minutes ago. So I just want to assure you that child nutrition is a deep, deep passion of mine, and I've been in a lot of corners of food nutrition, but child nutrition has my heart and soul. And what I fell in love with when I went through the interview process was the value on transparency and gratitude and appreciation for the people of this district. And as of my orientation day yesterday, I felt wholeheartedly welcomed and, you know, called my husband going home just so excited. I know that I have massive shoes to fill, and I acknowledge that the magnitude and the importance of doing this gracefully, but also stepping in with the ambition that I'm pretty well known for by people who know me so far, and I want to prove that to you guys. I also want to do it with an open mind and to encourage everyone to come and collaborate with me, because I do my best work in a collaborative manner. I just want to thank you so much for this opportunity and for trusting me. And I'm just thrilled to be here, and I'm excited to jump in. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm just going to add, because I cannot let this evening go by. We're talking about our champion, and I want to lift up Kristen Hennessy's name in this room today. And I know she has left a legacy of excellence for this department. A well-fed child is a child that is ready to learn. And we're just grateful for you for continuing to take that legacy and continuing to move us forward. So we're very excited, and we welcome you to the district.
Also, I would like to point out we have we do like to grow people from within. So Tiffany Brenza, who is being recommended for the new Council Payable and Billing Supervisor, she's a current employee of the district. I just like to point that out. That again, as we try to fill positions, we look from within first before we go out. So I just wanted to point her name out. Moving on to, I would like to point out a retirement. Congratulations to our, Catherine Avis, who has retired from Liberty. She had been employed with the district since August of 2010. So let's wish her well in her future endeavors. We have 28 people that are getting tenure today, so that's a great thing. So I wrote a few words to say about all of them. On behalf of the entire district, I extend my heartfelt congratulations to the 28 outstanding teachers who have achieved a significant milestone of tenure status. This accomplishment is a testament to your unwavering dedication, exceptional teaching abilities, and commitment to fostering a nurturing and enriching learning environment for our students. Your journey to this point has been marked by hard work, perseverance, and a passion for education. Tenure is not just a recognition of your professional excellence, but also a reflection of the positive impact you have made on countless young lives. Your dedication to continuous improvement and innovation in education inspires us all. Thank you for your invaluable contributions to our school district. We are immensely proud to have you as part of our educational family and look forward to your continued success and influence in shaping the future of our students. Congratulations. And that does it for HR today.
Fantastic, thank you. On to celebrating success, led this evening by Member Picard.
Okay. Today we're celebrating success. This evening we'll honor the student staff of P-CCS radio station 881, The Park, whose dedication to serving the community and pursuit of broadcasting excellence was recognized this spring when the station was named the 2024 High School Station of the Year by the Michigan Association of Broadcasters. This year marked the 7th consecutive year that 881 has received Station of the Year honors. The MAB's Student Broadcast Awards competition sees young broadcasters from around the state submit examples of their work in a variety of categories, including DJ work, news, sports, and promotional and public service announcements. The award winners are determined by professional broadcasters who serve as the competition's judges. In addition to being named Station of the Year, 881 The Park students received 21 individual and team awards for their broadcast work, which represents almost half of the total awards presented in the competition. For over 50 years, 881 has been an invaluable community resource, beginning as an independent music station, giving artists vital exposure and transitioning to what we know it as today, a hit music station that serves all ages and provides local news and sports coverage. Their work is vital in changing media landscape that has seen 2 of our local newspapers close or scale back local coverage. We could not be more proud of the work these talented students do to inform and entertain their listeners. At this time, I'd like to invite Station Manager Bill Keith and Assistant Content Station Manager John Krager to the podium to share a little bit about these students' work.
First, thank you very much for recognizing the work of the students. It is a real indication of the quality of the work that they're doing, and we really do appreciate that. My thoughts about the station really reflect on the 33 years that I've been here as station manager, but also as my time as a student at the station. And I've seen the impact all these years continuing through the lives of our current students. I really see 3 main areas that it really has not only impacted myself, but impacted our students. And first is that the station provides a real connecting place for the students at the high school. When we think of how big the campus is, programs like the radio station, robotics, culinary arts, and so many others really provide that glue to connect the students to the school. I think it also provides some really outstanding career direction, not only for students that are interested in pursuing a career in broadcasting, but no matter what career they might go into. And most of all, I think it really provides an opportunity for students to serve the community and to use the skills that they're learning at the radio station to give back to the Plymouth Canton community, which has been really generous and has supported this station over the past 50+ years. And these students that are here are just a small portion of the students that have been recognized, and they've just done outstanding work. So we're really honored to have them recognized here at the Board of Education meeting.
Thank you very much, Bill, and thank you, Member Picard. I want to echo Bill's thanks to all of you on the Board of Education and to P-CCS leadership for taking the opportunity to recognize our outstanding students tonight. Your decision to recognize our staff tonight is also a recognition of the good things that can happen when a variety of stakeholders come together to support a P-CCS program like 881 The Park. These awards would, of course, not be possible without the hardworking students sitting here behind me tonight who, quite honestly, fill me with pride and admiration every time they hit our airwaves. It's also true, however, that 881 The Park would not be possible without a Board of Education who recognizes the true value of funding a vital community resource, a superintendent in Dr. Merritt, whose exemplary leadership of our district includes and has always included a steadfast support for the station, communications professionals like Frank Ruggiero and Carly Reyes, who have stewarded the department that we're a part of through transitions this year, and local businesses and charitable organizations like the Rotary Club of Plymouth, who recently announced a matching and a finishing grant for us that will be part of our capital campaign to upgrade studio space. They all promote our work, they partner with us, and with alumni of the station and community members who donate generously to our fundraisers every year. As an alumnus of both the station itself and proudly of our district, I consider it a true honor and a true blessing to have the opportunity to work with these amazing students who embody the mission of Plymouth Canton Community Schools. They are truly prepared to become tomorrow's leaders, and they have learned, prepared, and they are thriving. They're also proof that in today's competitive educational environment, it's opportunities like the 188-1 offers students that sets P-CCS apart from other educational options. We're grateful for the support that makes what we do at 88-1 possible, and we certainly accept tonight's recognition on behalf of P-CCS and the community we serve. Thank you so much.
Call the names of the students, so come on up if you're...
Sure.
Yeah. So on behalf of the Board of Education, I present Leo Pop, and I apologize if I pronounce your name wrong. Carter Johnson, Elizabeth Kelly, Jonah Kibben, Cheon Park, Sydney Valoria, Aliu Mobagal, Hannah Toms, Colin Bradley, Lola Makanjula, and Akshay Pariya Sarah Vanan. And I present them with Star Awards for students with tenacity, achieving, and reaching success. We congratulate you and your fellow staff members on your well-deserved recognition and all the work that 88-1 does to serve the community. And thank you. And would any of you like to tell us more about your experience on 88-1?
Hi, my name is Akshay Priya. I was the music director this past year, and I just want to start off by saying thank you on behalf of everyone to the station. Thank you to the Board of Education for presenting us with these awards. It's really an honor to be able to receive this. And 88-1 The Park has been such a monumental part of my high school career in so many ways, and it has impacted my life from public speaking skills, like improving them, to improving writing skills as well. And even though I'm not going into the radio field, the impact 88-1 has had on me will forever be lifelong. From freshman year till now as a graduated senior, I couldn't emphasize enough how much I've grown as a person, and I'm sure that I speak for everyone on our station when I say that we've all gained countless opportunities, like interviewing important figures through 88-1, and this wouldn't be possible without our incredible station managers, Bill and John, as well as the support of the Board of Education and our community. So thank you so much for all that you've done for us and helping us grow as both a station and as students. And we're truly grateful for this award, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for 88-1 The Park. Thank you.
Anyone else? No? Okay. All right, and congratulations. In addition to celebrating these talented students, we would also like to take a moment to recognize the wonderful station managers and mentors who have helped guide so many students to success in broadcasting throughout the years. On behalf of the Board of Education, I'd like to present Bill and Keithing John Krager with the Mary Beth Carroll Extra Mile Awards for continuously going above and beyond to support 88-1 of the Park. Would you like to say anything?
I did forget to say one thing that I wanted to share. I ran into a parent recently. I was at Westmore Market in Plymouth, and a parent flagged me down as I was walking out. One of our former students, and she's at Michigan State University studying mathematics and working towards her doctorate degree. And he just raved about her experience here in the district, her math teachers like Mr. Genta and so many other math teachers that she had. And he just talked about the experience at the radio station. Even though she wasn't going into broadcasting, her experience developing communication skills and growing as a leader had really prepared her to get to the point where Michigan State was basically paying her to come and get her doctorate degree, and she was doing work on the side for John Deere remotely. And it was just a really great reminder of the impact that the radio station makes. So many times people think, wow, for students that are going into broadcasting, this is a great program. Very true. But I think it has that same impact in the lives of students no matter what career. Like, just like Akshaya Priya said, she's not going into broadcasting, but the experience really helped develop and build her as a person. And that's been exciting to see. I love to see the stories of kids that go into broadcasting, but no matter what career they go into, to see that kind of impact is an amazing thing.
Thank you.
All right, congratulations again to all of the students in 88.1. On to board committee reports and action. First up is the president's report, and I actually want to yield some of my time to all the board members. Obviously, this is our last board meeting of the year, and just want to open the...
We have one more.
We have one more?
Yeah.
Yeah, in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks. All right. Well, we're going to do it early. We're going to do it early. Yeah, school is out.
Yes, yes,
Last
tomorrow.
board meeting, I'm sorry. Yes,
There you
well,
go.
school is still in. And so let's,
Tomorrow.
yeah, take an opportunity to make any well wishes to the students, the graduates, and just the student body as a whole, and any of the educators, any of the teachers and staff. So I'll open it up to my, actually, I'm going to start with Josh. Would you like to say anything to your classmates?
Well, good luck on your last finals and tests, and I hope you have a great summer.
Perfect. To my right?
It's been an amazing year for, I think, the entire district. You know, I've just seen so many accomplishments in the academics and the curriculum selections and the growth of the students. And, you know, we just got done graduations, and as always, Starkweather was an amazing experience, you know, as is all of the park graduations as well. So it's been an amazing year.
So to echo what Judy said, you know, it's a little interesting year for us as board members. 4 of the board members had high school seniors this year that were graduating, that we were able to give them their diplomas, and that's a really exciting thing for us to be able to do. But we also got to see firsthand all the students and their accomplishments and everything that they've done throughout this last year. I'm really excited about the direction the district is going in. I'm glad we're not like Wayne Westland and Ann Arbor from a fiscal perspective. So I think we're in really good shape from that point of view. And I think we're well positioned to continue the growth and the trajectory that we've had of driving innovation and being able to really support our community and putting students first in the process that we're doing. So thanks everybody, and thank the students for a great year, and looking forward to they have a good summer.
Well said, both Trustee Westra and Treasurer Kehoe. So first, thank you, President Wilson, for this opportunity, because I was going to save it for the end, because there's so much that happened. As Treasurer Kehoe said, this has been an amazing year at so many levels. With all of the celebrations that we hear with Dr. Merritt, with every board meeting, but also on social media and all the commercials that we hear about. I'm a huge fan of 88.1, so I hear about some of the great programs there. So, but I really want to start off with congratulating all the graduates from Starkweather, Canton, Salem, and Plymouth High Schools. And I had the opportunity to be a part of Plymouth and Canton ceremonies. And of course, we say every year, this is like the best time of the year. It's such a special event. Well, this year was extra special with my son being able to walk across the stage. And, you know, the chills that you get as a parent, and I know all the parents, the families, the friends in the audience were feeling that. So collectively, the moment of joy and the celebration was absolutely amazing. I would also like to thank all the educators, coaches, mentors, and families that played a pivotal role in the lives of these students to help them get to this point. And we hear a lot from Dr. Merritt and many others that it takes a village, and it truly does. And I can tell you from my own experience, I could not have done all of this alone to get my child where he is today. So I want to thank everybody for all of that. And I wish them the best in their next chapter as they go on to whatever path they choose. And I know that they're prepared based on what their experiences and education they received here. I also had a chance to attend the retirement dinner with Member McCoyne, and had an opportunity to hear some of the amazing stories and the impact that our staff have had on the lives of students, families, and the larger community. So I want to wish all the retirees all the best. Thank you for your service. Boy, I mean, you were absolutely amazing, and the time and effort you put into the students, the school, and the community is just out of this world. So thank you for that. And lastly, I want to wish all of the students the best of luck in their last day tomorrow, and hope that everyone gets a chance to have some time to reflect, relax, and spend time with family and friends this summer. So thank you.
All right. Member Picard?
I kind of came in where we were.
No, if you would just like to give a, I'm sorry, you were in the hallway. I just opened up an opportunity to say a few words to, you know, this year's students and/or faculty, since it's our last board meeting while the kids are in school.
Oh, when they're in school. Okay, well, I attended the Salem's Honors Night, and that was really amazing, just to see all the different awards and scholarships that all the kids have gotten. And then I also went to the Starkweather and Salem graduation, and those two were very heartwarming, and it was nice to see all the smiles and everybody pretty happy that they're done, and just that final time at the school, and all the staff and everybody that got them through. And I know sometimes that can be struggles with each kids, and so I just want to thank all the staff and students too for doing their hard work to get through. So thank you.
Thank you.
So with Member Sadoo, we had gone to the the P-CCS employee retirement celebration, and the food service department does a phenomenal job of transforming a room in Plymouth High School to this beautiful venue. And it's nice, you hear about the impact of the employees. And then I also was able to go to all 4 of the graduations. And that's when you see the impact of the staff to get those children across the stages. It takes the entire district from the time they start school to get them to that point. And so that's always a great day. It's the best time of the year for us, because that's what we're there for, to see the kids achieving, and they're ended their journey with us, and they're moving on to their next phase. And so congratulations to everybody, and good luck with whatever you're choosing on your next step. But also to thank the staff. To put those graduations on is a phenomenal amount of work. And the staff of the high schools putting all that together to get there, because for us, we show up and we, hand out diplomas and then we go home. But they've done a lot of work to get it to be so smooth. And, security is there the entire day. The choir instructors were there all day with their students, because they sang at 3, and then they had school on Monday morning. So I think we need to thank the staff who participate in that, because that's a lot of work, and they're not done. They don't just go home and they're done. They're coming back and dealing with kids Monday morning, so thank you. And then also the radio station a few weeks ago had a fantastic auction, and those kids were there all day working. It was a phenomenal amount of work. And so thank you to all of the staff at the park and every school.
And I'll just wrap it up by just thanking the community, right? The village that helped to get this year's seniors across the stage. Obviously, this year graduate faced unprecedented challenges with COVID, and I was one of the parents who had the opportunity to see my daughter come across the stage and hand her diploma. And I know firsthand that it really did take the village to get her across that stage. And so I think recognizing the staff, the parents, the community as a whole for wrapping their arms around the this year's graduates to make sure that they're successful was powerful for me to see. So, and with that, I will end my president's report. All right, on to Student Performance and Achievement Committee with Member Sadoo.
Thank you, President Wilson. We met last week, Monday, had a jam-packed agenda, 2 full hours of presentations and discussions. The first presentation around the assessment data review was around NWEA and Panorama. We had an opportunity to go through the growth and looking at some of the challenges that staff is working on to continue supporting students to improve. The other presentation we had was around the return on investment on special positions that we had taken on as a district, like the teacher on special assignments and student success specialists. And the district presented us with data in terms of where they saw promising results and where there were smaller promising results, but you have to make a decision at the end of the day with limited budget. So that presentation is going to come to the full board at the next meeting. But I would like to request the team to see, and Dr. Merritt, if we can all get those presentations, maybe in the next week or two if you're ready, so everyone has a chance to look at that data and that information. We also discussed out-of-country field trips, and another big presentation was the School Spirit Committee on the high school draw presentation, and I'm going to turn that over to Member Westra to give us an update.
So the School Spirit Committee, or the District Spirit Committee, has done a lot of work this year around how to increase school spirit and school cohesiveness, especially at the high school level. And one of the things that they decided would be beneficial was changing the timing of the high school selection from the beginning of 6th grade to the beginning of kindergarten, or whenever the student entered the district. It is only a change in timing. All the other requirements as far as the sibling rule and no redraws and it's a random choice would remain the same. The only thing that is changing is when that selection will be done. And what they feel is that by moving that ahead to whenever the student enters the district, it gives the families more of a chance to develop some feeling of belonging around the school that they will go to. So for example, the elementary school students can start going to sport activities or some of the summer practice sessions that are held by the lacrosse team or the football team or the baseball team, and participate in those and sort of build up an understanding of what it means to be a Canton student or a Plymouth student or a Salem student. So I don't believe that is not coming, since it's just a change in the timing, it will not come to the board.
Yeah.
And the timing for the rollout will be over the next year or two, because they've kind of got to move through all of the grades down to kindergarten.
All right, thank you.
All set? Perfect. On to policy with Member McCoy.
So we have not met since our last meeting. We will be meeting in 2 weeks from tonight. We meet at 5:30. We meet at the collaboration room, which is, if you go down this hallway, you will run into it. It's right there. Everybody is welcome to attend. We discuss the policies that you see here on our consent agenda, and we would love to have you. Mr. Johnson will save you a seat.
Thank you. F&O, Treasurer Kehoe.
We met last Thursday in a special location at Salem High School in order to allow us to attend the Starkweather graduation. We also met slightly earlier that week. We met at 4 p.m. instead of our normal 5 p.m. We reviewed a number of items that are on the agenda this evening, including the Innovation Hub and Robotics additions at Canton High School, as well as the proposed budget that we went through this evening, as well as the budget amendment that we'll be going through next as part of this process. We also discussed the Wayne Risa Enhancement Millage, and that will be coming up on the November ballot as part of the process. And our next meeting is back in this room. It is Thursday, June 20th, excuse me, Thursday, June 20th at 5 p.m. So back to our normal time, back to our normal place. We welcome the community to attend.
Thank you. SVA, Mr. Patterson.
So while our meeting is still to be determined, we are looking forward to participating in PCCS's summer activities and fall events and continuing to lift student voice, but currently we don't have a meeting planned.
All right. Thank you.
President Wilson?
Yes.
Would you mind explaining to the community why we don't have dates for the next meetings for some of the committees like SVA and SPA? Because the July transition time?
As far as,
So-
because we're electing new.
Yes, yes. So
Correct.
just the
I'll
commit.
let you do it. That's
Okay.
fine.
I just didn't want the committee to think
Yeah.
that, it says to be determined and what's going on. Just as a reminder, in July, we have our annual meeting and we elect new officers. And based on the officers and who actually wants to be a chair of those committees, all of that happens in July. So when that takes place and that gets finalized, we will make sure that that gets updated on the website.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Administrative report, superintendent report is first.
Thank you, President Wilson. I want to join the accolades that we've heard about graduation. It was a phenomenal event on both Thursday and Sunday. Seeing close to 1,500 students receive their diplomas. When we look across the 4 schools, we had close to $10 million of scholarships that were earned by our students. Just the joy in the room, I 100% agree when we talk about it taking a village. That is the culmination of 13 years throughout our district, and our staff, our teachers that have supported them along that journey. Being a part of the 4 of you as parents, watching you give your students their diplomas, that my spirit was so filled. It was just a beautiful opportunity to see. So we thank you for entrusting your child's education with us and our other 1,500 students and their families, because there is no greater honor than to be able to help that student really thrive and prepare for this next chapter in their journey. So we're really, really proud. I do want to share, I heard, I think, Trustee McCoy talk about the organization. We heard from a staff member at Eastern who actually said that they had been through 22 ceremonies for people that are renting out Eastern this year, and they said that was the ceremony on Sunday was the most organized and efficient that they had ever seen, and that they should lift us up as examples of how to run a graduation. So I want to say kudos to the high school staff. As you said, there were many hands working behind the scenes to make sure that that happened, and it was seamless and it was beautiful. And the same thing with our Starkweather graduation. So I just want to give everyone a round of applause. Thank you. As we're wrapping up this year, I want to give just a highlight, an incredible partnership that we've had over the years with Bosch, but we are very pleased to share that they are now awarding P-CCS a $48,000 grant, and this will allow us to purchase Lego science and engineering kits. This will be provided to our K-5 students, and this will give them the hands-on STEM experience. This will be utilized through their Innovation Special. So we're really, really excited. We know about that Innovation Special, which truly aims to boost teamwork and critical thinking and problem-solving skills. It teaches coding, robotics, and computer science. And so to have this support and continued partnership with Bosch is something that we're very pleased with, and we just want to thank them for just enhancing our learning environments for our students. I want to move on to just give another piece of good news as we have embraced ECHO this year. ECHO is going to have a friend in the district. I want to introduce to you AC. Now, AC will be joining our team as our Good Citizens dog, who will eventually become a therapy dog in this school. The AC's home will be at Holsing Elementary. If you recall, earlier in this year, I spoke about Plymouth Canton Community United Way. They provided us with $6,000 as a gift to purchase a train an emotional support dog for one of our Title I schools. So last week, Principal Chambers and our trainer, Abby Volpone, selected our dog, and this dog is from a local shelter. I believe it's a Labrador mix rescue puppy, and we are so excited. The puppy will stay with the Chambers family and they will be at school every day with our principal. So we're going to continue on, hopefully the partnerships, and maybe we can have a whole, well, what do you call a group of dogs? You can't call them a pack. We're going to get our P-CCS pack, but just again, welcome, and we look forward to having an opportunity to maybe bring AC to the board meeting and have an opportunity for board members to meet her as well. So again, thank you to United Way for their support. And as I cannot believe it, but we really are moving towards that last day of school tomorrow. We heard from Josh that our students are preparing for their last set of final exams. We have a half day, and I just want to, as we've heard before, take this moment to salute our amazing teachers, our administrators, our support staff for an outstanding year. We've heard it. I talked about it at graduation. I mean, this is my 9th year here in this seat, and I talk about it every year in terms of bragging about our accomplishments, but I absolutely believe that this year has just been a phenomenal year, where I say weekly, sometimes daily, we're learning of the accomplishments of both our students and our staff. And the accomplishments of students would not be possible without the support of the team. So we just want to thank you and encourage you to take a break this summer, enjoy your loved ones, and just get an opportunity to recharge and come back strong in the fall. I also want to give a heartfelt congratulations and thank you to our incredible families again that really entrust their children. Your most precious possession is your child, and so to be able to entrust their children's education with us at P-CCS, know that you're in good hands, because I believe that every staff member tries to or strives to treat each child, 16,179, as if they were their own. So again, we just appreciate the partnership of our parents and our families, and we're continuing to just embrace the journey ahead. Finally, I think that might have been it. I just want to say thank you to the Board of Education, as you've even heard from, you've spoken out of the mouths of babes today from 88-1 The Park. Just thank you for your support. You are student-centered, and you ensure when we ask that we can find a way to make it happen. So just appreciate that, because that doesn't always have to be the case, and I think that helps to lay the foundation for our students to continue to thrive. So we again have had an excellent year, and I'm looking forward to what next year holds.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Merritt. All right, on to finance and operation with Jill Minnick. And first up is presentation for the final budget amendment.
Thank you. Good evening once again. This time we will take a look at our final budget amendment for this fiscal year, this school year that ends on June 30th. It feels a little bit out of order, if you will, but we alluded to some highlights that you'll see here on these next slides. So moving right into it then, the overview this evening will take a look at our general fund, specifically the final budget amendment. Again, some highlights around revenues, highlights around expenditures. We'll take a look at a summary overview as well as a look at the fund balance. And then we'll take a look at those other funds summaries. So here we have an excerpt of our revenue section of the budget. And again, I want to mention that the budget is in hard copy outside the door here and at the front counter, and it's also on our website. But this is the revenue for our general fund, and you can see the final amended budget in the second column from the right. And so just some highlights from a high level around our local revenues. Our operating millage collections are slightly below our projections at mid-year. It kind of brings it just a little bit ahead of where our where we landed last year, actually, and just a little bit below even our original budget. Our interest revenues are greater than our projection, though, to the tune of nearly $414,000. So that's fantastic news. We are going to reclassify our insurance proceeds around our turf replacement, if you recall that from earlier in the winter, to our capital investment fund. Around state revenues, we are seeing an adjustment in our foundation allowance revenue of $1.8 million. For clarity, that is including some prior year adjustments that came through from the state of Michigan, classified as foundation allowance also from previous years. And then some adjustments in our MIPSR's cost payment and our cost offsets. Some of those are quarterly. Those amounts are not predetermined ahead of time. They are based on payroll amounts throughout the state of Michigan and our portion thereof. So those adjustments we anticipate to see by June 30th. And then we have other types of state aid adjustments in our categoricals that are recorded in the general fund to the tune of about $219,000. Other financing sources are revenues, and we anticipate just a slight increase in indirect cost captures around food service that come back to the general fund. Expenditures, this is a very summary form of our expenditures. You can see the detailed outlined expenditures by function. Function means the area in which those expenditures are made. Those are detailed in the budget book that's in your materials. But from a high level, we classify our expenditures, instruction, supporting services, and other financing uses. So under the instruction category, we have an adjustment around our salaries, wages, and retirement adjustments, partly because of those adjustments around the retirement revenue. Some of those flow in and flow right back out. So a lot of those adjustments have to do with the MIPSERS element. And then our substitute costs. We need to adjust that budget upward by about $350,000. On the supporting services side, we see some adjustments around $268,000 for our social workers, psychologists, and our speech language pathologists and so forth, just to name a few. And then we have an increase in our tuition payments for dual enrollment and other tuitions, payments to other districts or ISDs, LEAs. Here is our budget in summary form for the general fund, our revenues at the top there, and then our summarized expenditures. So in the final amended column then, second from the right, we see a net change in our fund balance is anticipated, an increase of $1 million. When we add that to our beginning fund balance of $42 million, we arrive at an ending fund balance that we project for June 30th of 2024 in the amount of $64,417. I'm sorry, $43,064,437. That fund balance percentage, which is fund balance amount divided by expenditures, is 19.9% projected. So we saw earlier this evening with that planned use of next year bringing that fund balance percentage down to 16%. But we anticipate landing in June right around where we thought we might land when we were preparing the mid-year amendment, and really not too far off from where we landed last year as well. I want to point out that it's always natural that we would have adjustments throughout the year, particularly when we compare it to the original budget. Because when we adopt the original budget, we're where we are today. We don't know our enrollment. We don't know the state aid package. We don't know our audited fund balance. So it's very natural, and we should be suspicious if there aren't any changes from our original budget. So those are natural and to be expected. I just wanted to point that out. So looking at those other types of funds that we account for, here we have our capital projects funds. I alluded to the fact in our fiscal 25 budget that we'll be wrapping up 3 series of bonds this year. We anticipate fully spending down the 2013, 2015, and 2019 series of bonds by June 30th. So that leaves the 2020 and the 2023 series of bond issuances. Significant funds yet remaining that we will spend in the near term around our next projects for the bond program. We also have our capital improvements fund. Those monies are generally derived by sale of properties. And then we turn those monies around and invest them back into our facilities and our grounds. We have our special revenue funds that I spoke of earlier. Again, we amend these at the end of the year just to reflect where we think where we project we will land with each of those, and then our debt service and our internal service fund as well. So the next steps around this fiscal year's final budget amendment, we will of course record and monitor our June transactions to be sure we're in line with where we thought we might land. And then we will wrap up our books. We will calculate our accruals for things that occur in July and August that are attributable back to the ledger for this school year. And then we will record those year-end transactions. We'll close our books and prepare for our annual audit. It officially starts in August, but our auditors will be here in just a few weeks to do some preliminary field work. That field work then informs what type of federal grants they'll be auditing specifically for our single audit, which carries additional audit procedures, if you will. So that's coming up very soon. And they will be with us anywhere from 3 to 6 to 10 weeks. It just depends on the types of required audit coverage that they need to have across the volume of transactions and our dollar values. So we anticipate spending quite a bit of time with them. And audits are always a time for learning as well. It's never punitive. Sometimes it's punitive, but most often it is learning and ways for us to improve our practices and learn best practices from our auditors as well. So I always look forward to our audit every year, frankly. So that's a snapshot of our final budget amendment, and I'm happy to take any questions that you may have.
Great.
Thank you.
We'll start with Mr. Patterson and then move to my left with Member McCoy.
I have no questions, but thank you again.
Thank you.
I don't have any further questions, but thank you.
And I also do not have any questions. Thank you very much.
None. Thank you.
I want to thank you, Ms. Minnick, for bringing this process forward so that we could have the final budget amendment done at the same time that we're doing our proposed new budget. It was always a weird process when we did our proposed budgets before the final budget amendment was done. So now we get a much clearer picture when we're doing our budget because we can compare those numbers to the final budget amendment. So thank you for that leadership and for bringing this forward and for all the team's hard work this year getting all this this process done. So
Thank you.
excited about this and recognize that we were able to do better than our original budget, largely because of some of the ESSER funds that we had here. We had originally projected a planned use of fund balance of almost $3 million, and we're coming in with a budget surplus of about $1 million. So that's a nice process here. That will not be something we'll be able to do going forward. So just making sure that all the board members in the community understand that and the great fiscal stewardship that we've done as a district to make it easier for us to manage the quote-unquote fiscal cliff as those ESSER funds dry up, that we're well positioned to help manage that process. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to thank you for the explanation of why we do this amendment process, because it's, you know, it's a little bit surprising to the uninitiated. So thank you for that explanation, and thank you for the clarity of it. I just wanted to point out something on page 3, the revenue highlights. On that reclassify insurance proceeds to capital investment fund, as I recall, that is we originally paid for the turf replacement, and then this is the reimbursement of the insurance. Basically, it's just a reimbursement for our outlay, correct?
Yes, and I'm going to say it back to you if that's okay. We had other insurance proceeds that we're accounting for this year, in addition to the JV turf field replacement. So that value there, is not quite, it's a little bit less than the full value of the turf field because of those other insurance proceeds. So those are in the mix as well. But yes, we went about the work to replace that turf field. We have our insurance claim proceeds. And when I brought forward the mid-year amendment, we had classified that as a general fund expense. But we have since determined that we should move that over to the capital improvement fund. So therefore, you see that reclassification there.
Okay.
That's also part of the reclassification in expenditures on the maintenance and operations line item in the detailed budget, because we're not going to account for those expenditures there. They're in the capital improvement fund.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right. No further questions. I'll look for a motion on action item 240682.
Mr. President, I move that we consider approval of a resolution to adopt the 2023-2024 final budget amendment, first and final reading, action item 240682.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say yes.
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 Opposed say no. All right, it passes 6-0. Next up is consider approval of resolution for bid package HS-4A Canton High School Innovation Hub Robotics Edition, and this is the first reading.
Thank you. Very good. We're excited to bring forward the bids for our bid package HS-4A, the Canton High School Innovation and Robotics Edition. And forgive me, but I'm going to pass it over to Brian Guessman and Derek Tinkaloo with TMP.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having us. As Ms. Minnick alluded, we are here to present the bid package HS4A Robotics Innovation Hub Edition at Canton High School. On Thursday, May 16th, we received bids. We are here to present those bids to you. Before we get to the numbers, I will turn it over to Derek Dinkaloo to kind of walk us through some drawings.
Good evening. This is an addition to the main building at Canton. So I think we've seen this map a couple times, and down at the CTE wing, which is the south side of Canton High School, is where this addition is going. And again, so the orientation has sort of changed here, with north being to the right. But the blue and the purple area is the existing CTE wing, and then our orange area is the addition. The purple designates spaces that are currently being used for robotics, and that's just something that we've always sort of kept in mind as we were adding to that program, as well as adding the Innovation Hub. Oh, and one other thing that I want to point out in here is that you can see in yellow the corridor that kind of goes through the purple and then to the addition. Some of that is new, so that we can have sort of a direct route to the addition. So this is our addition, and you can see that the main component to the left is a robotics practice field. And so that's set up so that a first robotics field can be set up. It is portable, it can be taken down, but the idea is that it is up most of the time. There's a overhead door to the left there, so that they can bring equipment from the robotics field to the shops with overhead doors. And then to the right is the Innovation Hub, and that's really just a space where I don't know if I want to say anything can happen, but yeah, okay. So, but again, sort of a shop space, an open space that has a lot of flexibility. And then there's another overhead door between those two spaces to allow an even bigger space that can be, and like I said, so the robotics field could be taken down, so you could reconfigure that space for larger events if you needed to. And then all the way to the right is just a single-use restroom, and one of the reasons for the addition of that is so that this space can be shut down from the rest of the school and used for events without having people go into the school. So you just need to supervise this area. One of the keys to this addition was to have for it to be visible, for really as you're entering the school to be able to see it, and even as you're coming in from the street to be able to see it. So over to the left is our addition with the large block C. This is sort of, as you're going to the main entrance, and you can see that in a really glassy wall there with, some sparkle from the glass. That's more of a close-up. So that's vision glass there. It does have shades, but again, a lot of daylight and a lot of identity. On the south side, which is the robotics, again, there's a lot of daylight in there, but that's translucent glass, frosted glass, so that we're not getting direct sunlight into the space. Again, the addition is brick and some metal panel, and takes the vocabulary of not only the existing building, but the addition that we're doing at Phase 3, so that we can start to unify these new spaces that are part of Canton High School. That's just a little bird's eye showing it, the CTE wing and then our addition there.
Thank you, sir. And I'd add and probably double down, this whole project or design is probably a couple years in the making. So we've gone round robin a lot of times with the building users, the end users, to really come up with the design and the adjacencies of how the existing buildings are used with that existing CTE wing. At one point in time, it was not a thought necessarily to put this addition here, but in talking with those end users, this is really the best use of the space based on how the existing facilities, so you don't have to duplicate and be as efficient with the design as humanly possible. So it took a long time to get here, but I think we're happy that we're here with what we've got. I'd also start getting into the bid summary. So in front of you today, you see the bid summary. This is always a really big spreadsheet that I try and compartmentalize. So you see all the bid divisions here today that we're recommending for award. I would highlight a couple bid divisions, bid division 108, which is the carpentry and general conditions, as well as the bid division 115, metal studs and drywall. Those are highlighted with 2 asterisks, meaning they're the second low bidder. The lowest qualified bidder, meaning the low bidder was for one reason or another unable to, they either had a gross error with their bid or they're unable to perform the work. I'd also highlight bid division 105 in bold. You see WO standing for a women-owned company, and we'll kind of talk through some of that dynamic as we go through the next slides. So very happy to announce that we received in totality 136 bids. I'd love to say we expect that every time, and certainly we're going to strive for that every time, but we are exceptionally pleased to be able to see that number. Rough average, if we can get 3 per category, that's a good thing. We can establish that we've got some competition there, but at 136, and some of which are in double digits, such as the bid division 106 masonry is an excellent thing. So total number of bids, 136. Of those 136, 14 of those companies were women-owned. Of those companies, 2 of which were minority-owned, 66 union, 70 non-union, one of which was a veteran-owned company and one of which was a small business. We highlight the highs and lows. One thing we did talk about at Finance and Operations is a lot of these bids were very close in nature, which is very indicative of good drawings, good bids, which gives us a lot of confidence going into this award. So one thing that we want to kind of highlight, construction budget. So once upon a time when we kind of pivoted from kind of the original game plan on maybe going on phase 3, we established this construction budget probably a couple years ago of this $2.5 million in which we're comparing to today. So we are proposing a total base bid cost of $2,610,446, which is a negative variance of $110,446, which is roughly is about 4%. Over what the $2.5 million budget initially was. But considering where we started versus where we're at, pretty pleased to see how close we are to what that original budget kind of came in at. As we start moving the schedule, I've added a line item on permitting. So permitting is one item that we want to make sure we're judicious on getting through. Potentially, if this project is awarded, we would be starting, we're already starting that permitting process as we speak. But upon approval, we would look to break ground this fall, September 2024, and then we would be looking to turn this project over spring of 2025. So what we'd anticipate if this project's approved, students would return back to school in September, and then we were basically just getting out of the ground. So we'd establish that fence line, so when students arrive, they understand the logistics of what that addition means, but that is in earnest when that project would start this upcoming school year. With that, I would welcome any questions.
All right, start with Mr. Patterson and then move to Member Westra.
So I've actually seen some of this presentation as I was a student in the committee of STEM students that was able to see this and then the things that are going in the rooms and provide feedback, which is really cool. I'm really glad to say that it's very student-centered. So thank you for that, but other than that, I have no questions. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you for building this. Two anecdotes. One is we were at the robotics showcase night a couple of months ago, and they were using the Canton cafeteria as the practice field, to demonstrate the robots. And it was obviously not the ideal place for them to be. And so I'm really excited to see that, especially, with the quality of our robotics team and the world champions. So, and I'm in a technical field, and whenever I say I'm associated with P-CCS, I'm always hearing, oh, you have that championship robotics team, don't you? So I'm really, really excited to see this get approved and get built. Thank you.
So a couple things I wanted to point out when we discussed this in F&O around the budget. the original construction budget was based upon just a pure square footage. So in the collaborative discussion that happened with all the stakeholders, the bathroom was added, other adjustments were made to the space. So it was definitely very happy with this bid process. I mean, it is slightly under what our construction budget is, but considering the scope that changed through that process and the very collaborative process that happened through there, I'm very happy with the ultimate results. From that perspective, this has been, as mentioned, a long journey. Lots of people were involved in the conversation and the stakeholders, and I'm really excited about where we ended up, because it isn't just for the robotics program, it provides a great facility for us to support innovative programs that we're doing throughout the district. And that's one of the things that, as a board, we've really wanted to do, is to drive innovation. And I love the collaborative work that's happened between the administration and the students and their construction teams to be able to get us to this place. The last thing I want to mention is that there's been a lot of discussion that we've had as we've gone through this. This is not going to take up any parking spaces while we're doing the construction. So we know that parking is often in the premium in the district, especially for student parking, which is where this is at. And they're going to design the fence lines and everything else to not take up any parking. So we're excited about that process. Thank you.
Secretary Sadhu.
I mean, just to echo Member Westra and Treasurer Kehoe, this is fantastic and exciting. I'm glad to hear the students, staff, were community members, families a part of the conversation in terms of giving input?
So, you know, we worked a lot with the robotics team, and that community input came through
Mentors, got it,
yeah.
okay.
A lot of mentors on the robotics
Great.
team, and those mentors were heavily involved in this process.
That's the clarity I was looking for. Is, you know, so thank you for including all of the different voices and perspectives. Love the dedicated space, and so like you said, people don't have to wander in different parts of the building. And I would remember Westra and Treasurer Kehoe went to the robotics showcase, and as great as it was just scattered everywhere. So we're going into these different nooks. I mean, I love everything that they do, but I'm so excited for them to have this dedicated space. My only concern is the disruption to students in the fall and throughout the spring. So you're looking at construction year-round. How is that, like, what are you doing to minimize, are you going to be going in and out of the buildings, or is it just completely separated?
So it's virtually completely separated, much like we've done the natatorium, much like we're doing the band room. So that is the process, and it establishes a lot of communication back and forth with the building principal. So certainly there's going to be some noise and things like that that causes maybe a slight disruption. But from a safety concern and from a compartmentalization, everything's separated from students, the construction workers, and again, we work hand in hand if we're not working, if there's tests going on, that kind of stuff, to minimize any impact to the students.
Great. Dr. Merritt, when it's complete, I would love to have an open house with the community and the board, so we can get that on our calendar as we approach the end date. Thank you.
Awesome. Oh, I just want to say thank you, and I'm really glad that it's down where it's at instead of by the field. I think that's a really good spot for it with everything. Everything's really close by it, and I think that was a really good decision, and just thank you guys for your work.
I really don't have any questions, but thank you for the community. The whole bond process started about 5 years ago because it took a while to come up with a list, and I really appreciate the collaboration to change these plans to make them work for the community. I'm really excited for our students to be able to have this and use it. Thank you.
All right.
And it looks great. It looks
Fantastic.
great.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
All right, final action item is 240683, consider approval of resolution for a Salem High School chiller replacement. And this is the final reading.
Mr. President, I move that we consider approval of resolution for Salem High School chiller replacement, final reading, action item 240683.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor say yes.
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 Any opposed say no. Passes 6-0. All right, on to citizens' comments. We have one citizen's comment, Corrine Alt. As a reminder, you'll have 3 minutes uninterrupted to make your remarks.
Thank you, Superintendent Merritt and respected board members. My name is Corrine Alt, and I am the mother of 2 boys who attend Plymouth High School. On April 24th, 2024, immediately following the varsity lacrosse game, my oldest son suffered a medical emergency. He was having trouble breathing and told one of the assistant coaches that he thought he was going to pass out. The assistant coach said he should see the trainer, but she had already left the Canton field. While this was happening, I was waiting by the boys' locker room for my son to come out. Approximately 10 minutes later, I overheard someone behind me say they just called the paramedics for Mason Alt. I was both shocked and terrified. Katie Cleveland directed me to his location, where I found my son laying on the ground. There were a number of people around him, but the only person I recognized was Laura Ann Van Sickle, vice president of the Booster Club, as a parent who is also a parent of a player on the varsity team. I was told later that the trainer had been called back to the field on the walkie-talkie, so she was there as well. I was told that they called 911, and a woman who was also a nurse asked me if Mason had any medical conditions. I said no and tried to ask Mason what happened. He kept saying, "I can't breathe." The nurse had him hooked up to the AED machine to monitor his heart, but she thought it could be a collapsed lung. It didn't appear that Mason was in any pain, but he said he couldn't feel his legs. I kept telling Mason to try to slow his breathing down. At some point, Carol Lucas, a parent of another player and a nurse practitioner, came to assist Mason. I was told later that she had already left the school campus and was on her way home when her husband called her to come back and assist with the situation. After approximately 15 minutes, Mason was able to speak more clearly, and to my horror, he told me that he had taken some powder in the locker room before the game. Another player said it was pre-workout powder, which is almost pure caffeine. When the paramedics arrived, we told them about the pre-workout powder, and they put him in the ambulance. They gave him oxygen to slow his breathing and warmed him up, as it was 38 degrees that night and he was lying on the ground in shorts and a t-shirt. The paramedics felt that his symptoms were indicative of a severe panic attack due to ingesting high doses of caffeine. I recognize that my son made a poor choice in taking this powder. However, it was given to him in the locker room on school grounds right before the game, which was supervised by at least one of the 5 coaches on staff. My husband and I are truly grateful for all of the off-duty medical personnel who jumped in to help during the initial absence of the trainer. Thankfully, our son is okay. As parents, we expect our children to be cared for in our absence, and we all know that high school sports can be very dangerous. This incident could have easily gone the other way, and if my son had an underlying heart condition that was undiagnosed. Then I would be here telling you a very different story due to the lack of adequate medical personnel present at the time. I respectfully request another minute to finish my statement because there are no other citizens' comments.
Granted.
Thank you. I have been told that the trainer is often asked to travel between 3 different schools during games held at the same time. We all know how big the PSEP campus is and how long it takes to travel between the 3 schools. I ask you, how is the trainer supposed to handle a medical emergency at more than one field at the same time? Why were my husband and I not contacted as soon as 911 was called? My husband and I have all of our contact information on file at the school and in Team Snap, but we were not notified that our son was in medical distress. If the trainer is not present, who is responsible for calling 911? Are the coaches trained in CPR and first aid? Surely the school district does not assume that there are parents in the stands who are medical professionals who can assist in emergency situations like this. Finally, I want to communicate my sincere disappointment in the lack of professionalism and empathy of both the assistant athletic director and the head coach of the lacrosse team with regards to our situation. I did not receive any communication from either of them after my son's medical emergency. The only person who reached out to me was Laura Ann Van Sickle, the vice president of the Booster Club. 2 days after the incident, I received a voicemail message from the trainer, who is an employee of Henry Ford, not P-CCS, to see how Mason was doing. I contacted the trainer and communicated my concerns about the use of caffeine powder, as I felt it was important that someone at the administrative level explain the dangers of taking this supplement to the players on the team. I was told that the assistant athletic director would be contacting me soon. After 5 days
Ma'am, I'll need you to wrap it up, please.
After 5 days of no communication, I contacted the athletic department multiple times before I was able to speak with the assistant athletic director. I was shocked by his lack of concern and the fact that there was no sense of urgency in dealing with my concerns or communicating the dangers of the supplement with to the other lacrosse players. On May 6th, an email was sent out to the lacrosse players from the trainer discouraging the use of caffeine powder, but also including how to use the powder safely. On May 9th, I had a meeting with the director of high schools, the assistant athletic director, and the head coach of the varsity team. I asked for a copy of the incident report from the night of my son's emergency multiple times, both in person and in writing, and I didn't receive anything until May 17th, almost 3 weeks, over 3 weeks after my son's emergency. To this day, I still do not know exactly what happened that night. I am aware that there are a number of other complaints that have been filed against the athletic department, and they have not been addressed. It is glaringly obvious that the policies and procedures regarding medical emergencies at PSEP need to improve in order to protect the safety of our children. I do not feel that a postseason sports survey is
Second
sufficient
request to wrap up, please.
to address the concerns of this nature. Therefore, I look forward to meeting with you and your cabinet members to discuss this issue further. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. So as a reminder to the community, during citizens' comments, we don't reply directly as a board. It's really the community's opportunity to come up and share whatever they would like with the board. However, there is always a follow-up in an instance like this where there's a request for a meeting from the administration, and be assured that Dr. Merritt will reach out to schedule a meeting. All right, on from citizens' comments. Follow-up board questions.
We had one follow-up board question, was the request of the dollar amount for the 100% funding for special education, and that was provided in board notes.
All right. And were there any questions follow-up from this meeting?
There was one question about the presentation going early, and all board members have access to that already. It's in the artifacts that we shared on Wednesday.
The actual presentations that we went through?
Yes.
Okay.
The slide deck from SPA.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Is that sufficient for everyone?
Yeah.
Or?
Yes.
Or would you?
Yes, it's
Okay.
just, it's very confusing because we get the link and then there's just an agenda and then the link gets updated later, so.
So I think you're talking about the agenda
SPA
meeting,
agenda.
but I shared them on Wednesday also as a part of my artifact document.
Oh,
That's
okay.
what I was looking
I
at the
see.
data
I'm sorry.
from.
Got it.
So I can
Okay.
pull, if it's
No,
easier,
no,
I
no,
can
that's
pull
fine.
that
No,
out
no,
and
that's
resend it.
fine, fine.
You're
It's in
good?
the artifact document, I'm set.
Okay, so as long as everyone's good with that. President Wilson, before we adjourn, can I just add something to the discussion if we have
Sure.
time?
Mhm.
Are we at that point?
Yes, we
Okay.
are at that point.
All right, I just want to remind board members that I sent an email on June 3rd asking for contents of the last board newsletter, and that will be pushed out later this week. And I just need the committee reports and updates from the committee chairs. And Josh, if you and Saeed could give me 2 to 3 sentences about SBA over the last couple of months.
Members to do, we provided that information. I'm going to send it to you one more time.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank
you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I got yours. And all the events that board members have been attending, you have been sending me that, so thank you for that.
Perfect. All righty. Any other business? All right, well, we are going to convene at 8:47 p.m., the regular meeting, to move into a closed session for the purpose of client attorney privilege.